Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for today's video since we recently reached day 200 in my portrait challenge of painting one portrait every day for a year. I thought it would be nice to do a Q&A to answer some of the questions that you guys had. And I really love watching Q&A videos, so that's why maybe I'm super excited for this one. So hopefully this will help you get to know me and the journey so far a little bit better. Okay, so let's get started with the questions. So Vivian asked me, what aspects of your painting improved or changed so far? This is a really nice question. I feel what I've noticed changing the most is my confidence while painting. As I mentioned previously in other videos, I have always been such a perfectionist, so that I feel it would lead me to try to over control every single aspect of my paintings, and the results would turn out more stiff and rigid. And during this challenge, I've really been trying to push myself to paint in a more bold and loose way. So I really feel that that is becoming more comfortable for me. And I've really noticed that this is really attached to the confidence that I've been developing in myself with my ability to fix mistakes. So instead of trying to make the painting perfect from the beginning, now I paint in a more loose and brave way. And then I trust that if I make a mistake somewhere along the way, I'll be able to fix it. Okay, so next question is, how long have you been painting? So I feel I've been painting pretty much my whole life because I've always been a creative kid, but I really started taking it more seriously like 2 or 3 years ago. Even though I have never been able to be consistent. So I was taking it more seriously, but at the same time, I was painting maybe 3 times a month, and that is not a lot. So that's why I started this challenge, because I really wanted to build the habit of painting almost every day. It doesn't need to be like when this challenge finishes, I'm not planning to paint every single day, but most of the days I want to keep painting. So yeah, I just wanted to go to the other extreme to really build that discipline and then hopefully balance myself somewhere in between. Next question is, what inspired you to paint a portrait every day? So we've all have seen videos of people doing something every day for a year. It could be something creative or not, like something totally random. And I was really interested in those kind of videos because I was always surprised of how people would be able to stay disciplined every single day doing the same thing. And I also saw this other artist, which I'll leave her name also here. And she was promoting this catalog that she published with 100 heads. So it took her 2 or 3 years to collect those 100 heads, and then she collected them in a little book that she published. And yeah, when I saw that book with all her little paintings, it really inspired me, because I was like, I want to have that with my own artwork and with my own portraits. And portraits was something I really wanted to train and practice. I love painting people and I love painting human emotion. So I felt I connected those two inspiration, and I thought, why don't I paint one whole portrait start to finish every day for a year? And as I said, it was a really big challenge for me because I've never been consistent with my art practice. But specifically for that, I wanted to try it out and see if I could build that discipline as a force of habit. Okay, next question is, how did you learn how to paint? So I never took classes, or I didn't go to art school or anything like that. I learned fully self-taught by researching information online, watching other people painting, and mostly I feel by looking at the artwork that have inspired me the most or that I like the most, and trying to analyze how it's done, what materials they used, what layers were first, And as I said, I love like visual brushstrokes. I love artwork where you can kind of see the process and not only like the end result. I want to see like where the brush was and what movements were done with it. So that's what I try to look for in other artwork. I try to see the textures that each brush leaves. And I don't know, just like trying to see what are the tools that they use to make those artwork, and then trying to implement them in my own paintings and with my own subjects. So yeah, I feel like each person has a different method for learning that works for them. Of course, if you have a teacher, it's probably faster because you save a lot of the trial and error part, and you have someone that guides you through the path and shows you the way, you know. For me, I feel I like exploring the path and finding my own path. And I like that process of being guided just by my curiosity and whatever I'm curious about learning more. And that's what I focus on, or that's what I research about. So that works for me, for example, but I don't think there's a method for learning that is better than the other. It's just whatever works for your type of personality and your specific needs. Okay, Alexander says, show us your palette, please. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what colors I use, but I have to say that I got my first oil paint set like 4 years ago, and I learned how to paint with those specific pigments. So those are the ones that I still use till now. But recently, I've been really, really curious and having the urge to learn more about pigments and what the old masters used to use. And I've been investigating how can I implement some of those colors in my palette. So I'm in the process of switching my palette. And I actually took a class about the Thorn Limited palette in Skillshare, which is the sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is a platform where you can learn from many talented instructors around the world. So they have classes about oil painting, color theory, but they even have classes about how to start your own business, how to sell your art, how to create a website, or even how to edit or create videos. So it's a really powerful source of information. And for people like me that love to learn and research new information on whatever we're curious about, it's really, really interesting. So for example, I was feeling so curious about the Thorn palette, and I found this class super helpful, and it gave me all the information I needed to know. And even though I'm not going to stick to the Thorn palette as it is, I am planning to implement some of those pigments like yellow ochre or cadmium red to my new palette. And the first 500 people to click on the link in the description will get a free month trial. So go ahead and get started today. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my palette. So right now my palette consists on 2 shades of yellow, 2 shades of red, 2 blues, titanium white, and burnt umber. And I think I'm going to keep it somewhat like that. I'm just planning to switch out the specific hues that I use. I bought these huge tubes because on one hand, I'm painting 365 portraits. So at some point I got tired of buying small ones over and over. But also when I started using the palette knife only for my portraits, I realized I had to use way more paint for those portraits. So yeah, that's why. And now I'm going to mention some of the colors that I got new out of that process of exploring and researching about pigments. And I'm really excited to start experimenting with this. I haven't tried them yet. So I got yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, cadmium orange, transparent brown oxide, and cobalt blue. So some of these are just slightly different shades, and some of them are like really new colors. So I'm really excited to experiment with this. So I guess I'll give you guys an update of how my permanent palette is looking in a few months from now. So next question is, how do you stay disciplined? Or how do you find the time and energy for doing this every day? And how do you handle it when you're stressed, overwhelmed, tired, etc.? So this is honestly the hardest part of this challenge, hands down, is when I have to sit and paint on days where I'm really tired, where it's already late at night because I didn't have time to paint any other time during the day, or when I'm going through whatever emotions of sadness, anger, stress, or even when I'm on a rush because I have to be somewhere and I just have like 20 minutes to paint and I have to get something done super fast. So in those days, I don't know how I do it. Like, it really depends. On one hand, the fact that I'm exposing this process on social media, I feel that holds me accountable, because even though my community is not huge, there is still like some people that like to watch my challenge and follow along with it. So I feel like they're waiting for it. So I kind of like forces me to stick to it. And on the other hand, the idea of creating that book at the end of the challenge of the 365 portraits really, really motivates me. Like, imagining myself holding that book with all those little portraits and going through it. And I feel I would be so, so proud. So that idea, sometimes I try to use that to motivate me to sit down and keep with the challenge and keep painting, because I do want to create that book at the end of the challenge and hopefully sell it. But even if no one wants to buy it, I would still like be happy just holding it in my hands. So that is a source of motivation. And sometimes I just have to push through it, and that's when I really have to use that self discipline and just like force myself to do it. But by doing that, I realize that sometimes, either when I'm in a rush or when I don't feel my best or when I'm tired, so I want to get done fast, I end up doing some of the work that I like the most. So I realize it's not really necessary for me to feel my best to perform my best, which was something I didn't know before, because I never had to paint really tired. I would just choose not to do it. So that was such a big insight, because now like it's easier for me to paint in those days, because I know I might do something that I end up feeling proud of and satisfied with. And lastly, when I have those days where I'm feeling sad or a bit down, I try to use my paintings as an excuse to pour my emotions. So I give them kind of a therapeutical use. But I have to say that most of the days I do enjoy painting. I do feel like the habit is already very implemented, because I don't really struggle to go and paint. I just do it and I feel like doing it. So yeah, apart from those days that I do struggle, I have to say that most days I enjoy doing it. Okay, so one of the questions you guys have asked me the most is, where do I get my reference photos if I take my own? If the subjects are people that I know, and how do I select them? Okay, so I'm going to try to combine the answer for all of those questions. So I do not take my own photo references. I would love to, but right now I don't have the resources or the time to take photos of 365 different people with all the diversity that I like to show in my subjects. So I do not take my own reference photos right now. Hopefully next year, when I don't have to paint 365 paintings, I will take my own reference photos. So I'm going to leave a list somewhere over here of all the photo bank websites that I use for searching my subjects. And that takes me to the other question of if I know the people I'm painting. And as you can imagine, most of them are strangers. I have painted my parents, my boyfriend, some friends and family, and I've also tried painting some actors or main characters of series I like. But other than that, most of the people I paint are strangers. And I choose to paint strangers on purpose because I like to feel the freedom of experimenting with whatever I want without having to be worried about getting the resemblance right. Because when you paint someone you know, you want them to see themselves. And that's what I do when I have commissions. I try to get that resemblance right at the same time of trying to keep the style loose and expressive. And that is really something challenging that I'm really enjoying exploring in the commissions. But other than that, in my personal daily portraits, I rather paint strangers because I feel more freedom to do whatever I want. And the way I select my subjects is simply by scrolling through all the pictures I have saved and try to search for what picture calls me that specific day. And each day is a different one. And it's something super genuine and intuitive because I just look at all the pictures and there's always one that I feel drawn to for whatever reason. And that's the one I paint. Like, I don't question myself, like whatever is that I feel like painting and I was drawn to, that's what I use. Next question is, what has been your favorite part of this journey? Oof, that's a good question. I feel it would be getting rid of that perfectionism that I had, which I'm still there. I still have a long way to like keep becoming more and more brave while painting and more loose and letting go of control more and more. But that process has been really, really beautiful. Learning to let go and to trust myself more. And it has led me to get rid of much of that self sabotage that I used to have before painting, that used to make painting like a hard task, that everything needed to be perfect in order for me to paint, and I had to feel my best in order to paint, and all those excuses that were really trapping me and paralyzing me. And now I feel like my creative energy is way more within reach and I can use it whenever I want without all those barriers of this has to be perfect, I have to feel perfect, I have to have a lot of time ahead of me, and all those little things that were not helping me but stopping me from being creative. Okay, Kiara asked me who is my favorite artist and who inspired me the most. I feel this is such a good question. I love knowing who are the inspirations of the artists I like. And I feel it's such a valuable information. So what I see is that when people talk about what artist inspires them, they always talk about the old masters. And I am going to tell you which old masters are my absolute favorite. But I am also going to tell you what contemporary artists are my inspiration, people that are alive creating art right now. I'm going to start with the old masters. My favorite painters are, of course, John Singer Sargent. Beautiful work. I've talked about him in one of my previous videos where I went to the Chicago Art Institute because he has many of his paintings there and they're absolutely gorgeous. And I keep coming back to that museum to just look at the painting and stare at them and try to understand the thought process, the decisions, the brushstrokes, the colors. Like, and that's what I mean. You learn a lot from just analyzing what is that you like about this painting and trying to figure out how did they achieve that. Then, of course, Joaquin Sorolla, the Spanish painter. And I also had the chance to go to Madrid to the Sorolla Museum. And it was such a beautiful experience. And you can even see paintings that are halfway done and they were not finished. So that also gives so much information of what was the building process. Then another artist that I love is Anders Zorn. And again, his artwork's super expressive, so much movement in the brushstrokes and just really, really beautiful. Another artist I love is Nikolai Fichin or Fichin. And for me, he is the absolute master of lost and found edges. Like the way he would choose what to define and what to not define, what areas to leave blurred and like lost, and what areas to guide your attention to. Absolutely marvelous. And I just like keep staring at it and keep getting more information each time I look at his paintings. And then Antonio Mancini, which I also love the textures he used to include in his artwork. And I feel he also used to use the palette knife a lot. And the intimacy of the sceneries he used to paint, it is also super inspiring. So those are the old masters that are like my references. And now I'm going to share with you guys what painters that are alive right now inspire me the most. One painter that I absolutely love is Asma M. Khoury. I'm probably not pronouncing her name right, but she is, I think, an Egyptian painter. And her works are just so expressive. And the way she mixes textures is super amazing for me. And I feel I can look at her work for hours and I would still not understand how it was done. So her work is really a mystery for me, and it's been so inspiring to try to understand it more and more. Then we have Thorsten Wolber, which is a German painter, and he has been also such a huge inspiration for me. I actually started using the big flat brush because of him, and I love how expressive his paintings are and how bold he is with his brush strokes. Like, for me, he's in another level of boldness and bravery when it comes to brush strokes and painting freely. So he's such an inspiration too. Then there's Rosso Emerald, which is an Italian oil painter, and she is also wonderful. And she mixes a more realistic and figurative style when it comes to the subject with abstract, expressive backgrounds. And I really like that mix too. And I think her paintings are absolutely beautiful. So yeah, each one of the artists I mentioned are an absolute treasure for me. And I've learned so much just by looking at their work and trying to understand it. So hopefully it will help you too in some kind of way. Okay, Chiara also asked me, how do I balance life and art? Whew, this is also a hard question. I feel specifically during the challenge, painting and content creating end up taking most of my time, but I always try to keep my life somewhat balanced because I feel otherwise this would not be sustainable long term. So I just try to identify what things are really important for me in my life and try to prioritize all of them, or at least dedicate energy and time to all of them. So, for example, for me, it's important to spend quality time with my partner, with friends and family, even if it's by FaceTiming with them. It's also important for me to do exercise and stay healthy and active. It's important for me to rest and have time to relax and just do whatever I feel like doing, or don't do anything at all. And then I also have to dedicate time to studying and working. So having all those different things in my life that I have to dedicate time and energy to does add a bit to the stress of I have so many things going on, but at the same time it also balances that I'm working on different aspects of my life at the same time, and I'm not just leaning towards one and leaving everything else abandoned or unattended. But I'm not saying it's easy. I have some weeks where this works better than others, and as everything, nothing is linear and everything goes up and down, and you have to always try to balance everything the best way possible. Okay, Angela asked me, are you going to sell your paintings? Yes, all my paintings are up for pre-sale, which means I want to keep all the paintings of the challenge to do one or more exhibitions at the end of the year with the 365 paintings, but you can still purchase them. And I have sold some of them. I just won't ship them to their owners until the exhibitions are done. But I do ship a free print of the painting purchased and a certificate of ownership of the painting. So if you guys are interested in buying any of the paintings of the challenge so far, you can reach out to my email and we can discuss the details. And again, I also do commissions. So those, you don't need to wait for them because those are outside of the challenge. So if you want to commission a portrait, you can also reach out to my email. I also got asked, have you ever painted from a live model or considered doing so at a street fair? And the answer is yes, I have painted from a live model. I would love to do that daily, but of course it's really hard to find someone that wants to sit there just for you. But yeah, hopefully next year I'll do that more. And I would love to paint at a street fair, have my own booth and paint people there live. And I also love painting as a form of art performance. So I would love to paint live in like a bar or a hotel or an art gallery. I actually used to have a show mixing dancing and painting where I used to sketch a dancer live and trying to capture her movements along the show. Whole concept that was really, really cool. And I would love to keep doing art as a performance. So yeah, if you are watching this video and you're a hotel owner or a gallery owner, or you just organize event and you want me to paint live at whatever place or show or event that you have, let me know, because I would really, really love to start doing that. Okay, so that was all for today. I hope this video was helpful and that it wasn't too long. And I also hope I answered most of your questions. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer to all of them. And thank you for watching this far. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow in my daily portrait videos. Bye!